Hey, honey, did you hear the news? Big news today out of London, England.
No.
Apparently, Prince Charles has been diagnosed with a mild case of the coronavirus.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Wow.
and Prince Andrew has been diagnosed with a severe case of gonorrhea.
Oh, there's the headline.
Yeah, gonorrhea, by the way, one of the funnier social diseases.
Yeah, compared to.
Well, no, I think it's like gonorrhea, and then the second would be chlamydia. No, because it's got a K sound.
Uh-huh.
So social disease with a K sound, that's funny. And herpes would be third. You know what that means, though?
No, I don't.
That means it's time for the Dave Konig Show.
Yay.
On Facebook Live.
Woo.
We do this every Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. New York Eastern Standard Time.
That is so true.
And we're sitting just 6 feet away at a safe social distance is my co-host, the lovely bride of Konig, Susan Konig, is here.
Hi, everybody.
Okay, that's her little catchphrase. And also on the show tonight, a very special appearance by the Dave Konig Dancers.
Yes.
They'll be here. Of course, we are broadcasting in iPhone portrait, not landscape. And the dancers have to be 6 feet apart.
Oh, right.
So very hard to get them all together for a big production number. So I called the dance captain this morning.
Yes.
I believe her name is Gladys. I called Gladys.
Yeah.
And I said, so how do you want to do the dance today? Because we've tried Zoom, we've tried all these things. And she said what she would like to do today for the Dave Konig dancers
Yes.
is she would like all of our viewers watching, if you could send in for Gladys your credit card information and your Venmo information. And she mentioned something about she took some courses online last couple of days, and she wants all the Dave Konig dancers to go up the bridge to total freedom, which I'm not sure what that meant.
Yeah.
Something about how they have to get some kind of auditing to get rid of their body thetans.
There you go.
So I think Gladys joined a cult of some kind. But I don't want to judge. I don't want to judge if you want to send Gladys your credit card information for the Dave Konig dancers, who are now apparently all in Scientology. Okay. And also a big funny appearance today, big sketch comedy appearance by our own in-house sketch comedy team, the Not Ready for Dave Konig Players. They're very popular.
Oh boy, featuring
Kevin. He's he thinks he's going to be the big breakout star from the Not Ready for Dave Konig Players. So I wrote a sketch for the show today to do with the Not Ready for Dave Konig Players. Yeah. And I said, let's do this sketch. It was funny. It was the dentist sketch. I wrote the dentist sketch.
Okay.
And I would play the dentist, and then the patient would say, is this going to, Kevin, would play the patient. And I say, because he's he does the funny voices and everything. And he would say, is this going to hurt? And I would say, no, this won't hurt a bit. And then I pull out I came up with this idea, this big funny, like a giant prop hypodermic needle, about that big.
Yeah, that seems familiar.
Kevin apparently, last couple of days, has been taking online acting classes. And now he thinks he's going to show everyone that he's a great dramatic actor. So apparently the Not Ready for Dave Konig Players tonight will be doing a whole 2-hour tribute to the works of Bertolt Brecht.
Oh.
So that'll be wildly entertaining for everyone.
Very artsy.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. And also our big celebrity guest on the show.
Who do we have?
Big celebrity guest on the Dave Konig Show on Facebook Live. Today's guest, Emmanuel Lewis Calhern Jr. will be here. Emmanuel Lewis Calhern Jr. He is apparently the adopted surrogate illegitimate son of Emmanuel Lewis from TV's Webster. You remember him?
I do.
And the great film actor Lewis Calhern.
Wow, how did they even meet?
I'm a little skeptical myself because I believe Lewis Calhern actually passed away about 20 years before Emmanuel Lewis was born. So I'm a little skeptical of this man's story. He's not in show business, Emmanuel Lewis Calhern Jr.
No. What does he do?
He hails from Kenosha, Wisconsin, and he runs his own possum cleaning service. If you have a possum and it gets mangy or greasy or something, he has his own possum cleaning service.
Wow.
That is apparently is Kenosha, Wisconsin's premier possum cleaner.
Now that's interesting.
So he'll be on the show, and we'll ask him all about his famous dad, Lewis Calhern. Lewis Calhern, one of the great actors.
I know he's one of your favorites.
He's the best. He was a long film career, everything from the Marx Brothers Duck Soup to, of course, the great late 50s crime drama Asphalt Jungle.
Yes. He's great.
But apparently he had an illicit affair with Emmanuel Lewis, and their illegitimate son will be here, Emmanuel Lewis Calhoun Jr. Okay, also, what are we doing on the show? So,
I just want to mention.
Yes.
David Kindred sent his credit card.
Thank you, David Kindred. The Not Ready for Dave Konig dancers will be taking you through some Scientology courses later on. Thank you for sending in your credit card information. And thank you for everyone who's watching. Corey Kahaney says Brecht is underrated.
She might be right.
She might very well be right. Now, just a little homework before we go on with the show. We started this broadcast right as the global worldwide pandemic began. So this is our 8th show, I believe.
Something like that.
We do this every Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. New York Eastern Standard Time. Now, we were building our viewership the first week.
Right.
And by Friday of the first week, just a few days, we had like 300 viewers on this
A lot
thing.
of people, yeah.
And then the viewership just dropped this week. It just dropped.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I forgot to press a button properly. And so for some reason, the show was recorded on the iPhone, and I got it on the Facebook on the computer, but it's not on the Facebook on the iPhone. I did something wrong. So we got much less viewers.
Well, that's okay. Hopefully the viewers are still out there and they're healthy.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I want the viewers to take responsibility for this, for my plummeting ratings. You people need to do more, quite frankly, to spread the word about the Dave Konig Show on Facebook Live.
That's right.
Because, our motto here is you can either spread the word about the Dave Konig Show on Facebook Live, or you could spread the coronavirus. Now, the choice is yours.
Yeah.
I would go with spreading the word about our show.
Pretty clear.
So tell your friends. I know Jack Hoffman was having a watch party.
Yes.
Irma Zandel always plugging the show. Everybody, a lot of people are plugging the show on their Facebook pages, and we greatly appreciate that.
Some maybe are not carrying their weight.
That's right. Some of you are not carrying your weight. So let's pick it up out there, folks. So, this is, we spoke to the Suits here at the Facebook Live Broadcasting Network, and they were very excited about designating this Show Business Anecdote Week.
Oh, good.
And we kicked it off. We kicked it off on Monday, where I told the big, that was our special Marvelous Mrs. Maisel anecdote.
That was a great story.
But by the way, if you miss any of our shows, they are archived on the Facebook page, The Dave Konig Show, streaming live.
Terrific.
So you can go there and watch Monday's show, which was all about the shocking story of how I booked the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Great story.
Yesterday, we did the shocking story of how I became a big star on Broadway.
Shocking.
By the way, I was supposed to post this, and I never got around to it. If you watched yesterday's show, this is, I don't know if it's probably glare but that's me. That's me in 1996, starring on Broadway.
That was exciting.
Doing one of my subtle moves on Broadway. Look at that. Hey, look at me. I'm a big subtle move in Greece.
Ah, big star. Oh, yeah. No, that looks nice. It's a little glary.
Yeah. And so tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to tell the shocking but true story of how I, a Jewish comedian, became a national spokesman for the Catholic Church. Shocking but true.
That is, and it's shocking but true.
Now, if you'll recall, honey, I turned this story into a 85-minute off-Broadway solo show that was very well reviewed called Hebrew School Dropout.
An awesome show.
Well reviewed, I must say, years ago.
Everybody loved it.
Yes, and so tonight what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to take 85 minutes and then we're going to squeeze it down to about 7 minutes. We're going to do a 7-minute version of this anecdote, Hebrew School Dropout. So this is how I became a national spokesman for the Catholic Church. A little background I should give you. Now, I'm a Jew.
Yeah.
I am a Jew. I was not raised to be a practicing Jew. My parents weren't particularly religious. They were short, my parents. My father was 5 foot 225 pounds. My mother, you remember, my mother was 5 foot 250 pounds.
Yes.
When they walked down the street, they looked like the number 10. My parents. And they were not religious people. They had their belief system. They believed primarily in yelling. They were very committed to their yelling lifestyle. So, and I was not raised with a lot of religion because, as you know, honey, I had kind of an unconventional childhood. Kind of an eccentric childhood.
Yeah, but that's another story. Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's a whole other story. We traveled around the country over and over again when I was a kid. My parents were a little eccentric. We just all over the country, back and forth. I went to 33 different schools when I was a kid. 33 different schools.
Man, that's a lot.
There was one year I went. We traveled so much that I didn't go to school. It was the 4th grade, so I have certain holes in my education because there's things you learn in the 4th grade I just never learned.
Yeah.
I remember one time when our son was in the 4th grade, he came home one day and he told me they were learning all about Lincoln's assassination. And I thought to myself, assassinated? So that's what happened to that guy. So I didn't have a lot of religion. And then I met you.
Yeah.
Then,
wow.
cutting ahead in our story,
Yeah.
well, we got to compress the story down.
Okay.
Cutting ahead, I meet my lovely wife, the co-host of the show, the bride of Konig, Susan Konig.
Hi, everybody.
That's her catchphrase. She just gets that catchphrase in whenever she can. And of course, as you know, honey, you were Irish Catholic. Are you
Yes.
still? Well, technically,
Still Irish.
you're still Irish. So, and then of course we started having all these kids. How many kids we got? We got too many kids.
Well, we have 4 to 6.
We got 4 to 6. That's a lot of kids.
4 to 6.
It's a lot. I love them, but you really don't need that many children. It's ostentatious, quite frankly. You got 4 kids. You're approaching Von Trapp family singers territory. If you got 4 kids, they should be wearing lederhosen and singing Edelweiss. So I marry you. We have all these kids, right? And so we got to raise them Catholic because that's just the deal. I just showed up, right, and signed a letter to the Pope, and that was it. So and that works out fine. It's fine. Except I think our kids might be a little anti-Semitic, just a little. Now you hear comments. I don't want to make a big deal. I remember one time our son was 4 years old, and he asked me if I'd buy him his own real car. I thought that was very cute. I said, "No, Daddy can't do that. That would cost too much money." You know what he said? He said, "You people, that's all you ever think about." Our kid said that. He came right out and said this to me. Yes, you remember when he said that?
Yeah.
Remember this time when the kids built a clubhouse in the backyard, and I asked if I could join, and our 8-year-old pulled me aside. He said, "Look, if it were up to me." That's what he said. Came right out and said it. So I'm tagging along with you on Sundays when my wife would take the kids to Catholic church, right? And this is a few years ago. At one point, I woke up one day and I was having a little bit of a midlife crisis, And so we go to take the kids to the thing there, the church, and I'm looking at it and I'm saying, there's elements of this service I really like. Smoke, miracles, men in robes. It was like Vegas. It was like Siegfried and Roy. It was show business. So you know me. You know how I get sometimes, honey.
Yes.
You know how I get an idea in my head?
You do.
Like when I was doing that Market America scam?
Well.
Right? Remember that? Okay, so it's a multi-level marketing thing I got involved. So I get all excited. I decide, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to convert because I get carried away. So I read a book. I went to a class. I showed up at church one night. They sprinkled me with water. Bing, bang, boom, shazam. I'm a Catholic. Okay? Now, I decided I would keep my conversion strictly on the QT, I didn't want to have to explain myself to anyone. I didn't want to talk about it. I decided I would be a closet Catholic. Okay. Now, here's where I found out that not only does God have a sense of humor, he's got a particularly sick sense of humor. Now, at the time, my lovely wife, Susan, right, sitting right here,
yes.
You were writing all these family humor books about marriage and parenting,
Yep.
and you had a funny family humor column.
Yeah, I did.
Humor column about marriage and parenting, and it was picked up by various magazines and publications. This is back during the days of print, in the old days, and it was picked up by including Catholic Digest, right?
That's right.
Okay, so your columns in Catholic Digest. Now, at the same time, the Archdiocese of New York is putting together a national Catholic talk radio channel for Sirius satellite radio, right? They approach you, my wife.
That's right.
And they say, honey, they didn't call you honey.
No, they did not.
They said, Susan, how would you like to have your own radio show, coast to coast, national, on our new Catholic channel, talk radio channel?
Right.
And my wife wisely said, I don't want to do that. And they said, come on, we really want you to. And she said, the only way I would do it is if I could do it with my comedian husband, right? Professional broadcaster Dave Konig. So they offered us a deal, right, to do a husband and wife, 3-hour-a-day, 5-day-a-week national talk show. Now, at first, I don't know if you remember this, I was a little hesitant. On the one hand, I would be working for the Catholic Church. And on the other, how was I going to fill up 3 hours a day talking about Catholicism?
I know.
I figured by the end of the second week, even the Pope would say, yeah, that's all I got. But it was a radio gig, right?
Yeah.
And it came with health insurance. So here you have, just pretend you don't see my arm turning the page in the script. So here you have the Catholic Church, an institution known for completely controlling the message. And as their daily morning radio talk show host, they've hired a loudmouth, opinionated Jewish comic known for getting his foot in his mouth and saying the wrong thing.
Well,
Gee, what could possibly go wrong? So, our first show on the air, I make a harmless little joke, right? You remember this. Caller asked, Dave, when did you convert to Catholicism? I said, right after signing the contract with the Catholic channel. A mild joke at best. Not a big joke.
I thought it was funny.
It was nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. I immediately got a call from Cardinal Egan's agent. Yeah, the Cardinal had an agent. And because he was running the show, and he was very unhappy. Apparently it had been decided my harmless little joke was deemed to be controversial and offensive. Now, as I sat there, right, listening to Cardinal Egan's agent yell at me on the phone, I heard a line from an old movie inside my head. It was a line I would hear quite frequently from that point on. We've traced the call. It's coming from inside the house. Get out while you still can. But I didn't, right?
Well.
No, I didn't. I stuck it out. Because, did I mention that the gig came with health insurance?
That's right.
I mentioned that, right?
Dental.
Dental. It came with dental. It came with dental. I mean, so here we go. So we're doing the show, and I start to get mysterious, strange physical ailments.
That's right.
Severe migraines, crippling back pains. Remember that?
Spasms. Oh, my God.
Remember the spasms?
I remember.
That was fun for you, wasn't it? So I couldn't tell if it was from the stress of working for the Catholic Church or if maybe my body was somehow rejecting the Catholicism, like a bad liver transplant. This goes on for quite some time, right?
Yes.
Okay, now, something happened one day. I'm recording a promo for the show. Recording a promo with another host from the channel, this guy. I won't mention his name. And a real holy roller type of guy, the kind of guy who works Jesus into the conversation every chance he gets, He'd say, hey, nice weather we're having. He'd say, yes, nice weather to praise Jesus. So,
He was like that.
Yeah, it was exactly like that. It's awkward. So the recording's going very poorly. Very poorly. Bobby Collins was on that show. We had great guests on the show. We had great comedians like Bobby Collins and Freddie Roman came on the show. I mean, we had
Bobby Collins just tuned in.
I know. That's why I mentioned it. So I'm recording the promo, and it's going very poorly. And after several mediocre minutes, in an act of total desperation, the other guy, he blurts out what he thought was a pretty funny joke. He says, "Hey, Dave, anybody ever call you Jew boy?" Everything came to an abrupt halt. See, it hit me right between the eyes. See, I had been around show business all my life. In New York, I had never really experienced any real anti-Semitism before. Apparently, I had to convert to Catholicism to experience any real anti-Semitism. So, I took all my anger and my resentment and I shoved it back down inside my gut into a seething little ball, and I went back on the air. Now, all that anger and resentment was bound to bubble up somehow. I told a joke on the show, right?
Sure.
Now, it's an old joke. It's not my joke. It's a stock joke. You can use it without attribution. I told this joke on the air. A priest and a rabbi are at a party. And the priest says, Rabbi, let me ask you a question. He says, you ever eat pork? Rabbi says, look, once I was young, I was at a party, I ate some pork. And a little while later, the rabbi says to the priest, he says, Father, let me ask you a question. He says, you never had sex with a woman? The priest says, well, look, once I was young, I was at a party, I met a woman, we had sex. Rabbi says, a lot better than pork, ain't it? Once again, Cardinal Egan's agent exploded. He hauled me into his office, and he read me the riot act. He said, you are a spokesman for the Archdiocese of New York. And as long as you work here, you will express the opinions of Cardinal Egan on the air. And as for you, we don't need a lot of characters hanging around giving a joint atmosphere. Apparently in this story, this guy does a Sheldon Leonard impression. So, at this point, I had been doing this every day for 2 years, okay? 2 years. And I was beginning to think, the kids look relatively healthy. How badly do we need this health insurance? So, in the movies, when the little guy tells off the big boss, right?
That's right.
The music swells. The audience stands up and cheers. Beautiful women nod in slow motion appreciatively. In real life, you just get your ass fired. So they fired me. And they fired you too. Honey.
Yeah, they did.
They fired my wife too.
Yeah.
Because marriage is a team effort. She got us hired. I got us fired. And as soon as I was fired, I immediately converted back to Judaism, which brought about some questions for me, right?
Yeah.
Because I had to ask myself, I had to question my motives. Well, first of all, I had to wonder, how exactly do you convert back? I mean, what do you do? What do? You walk out of the church backwards, uncrossing yourself? You know? And then I had to ask myself, I said, my motives, was I falling away from the Catholic Church just because I had lost the show? Was my religious faith really built on the flimsy foundation of whether or not I was working in show business? Could I really be that shallow? Well, yeah. But you know, honey, as we say in the show business, I guess that's just my cross to bear. How's that? That was the entire story of Hebrew School Dropout, my 90-minute one-man show off Broadway in just 7.5 minutes.
That was pretty. That was rough. Yeah, I mean, we're up to 20 minutes.
Oh my God, we're 5 minutes over. We're 5 minutes over. Hey, we got to wrap this show up. Come back tomorrow. First of all, tell your friends to watch this show. Spread it around. Share this show with all, because it's the best thing you can do during the global pandemic, right?
Yeah, tell Sonny Sessa to come back.
Sonny Sessa, we miss you terribly. Scott Glickman, you're a champ. Paula Peterson, what a beauty you are. Kathy Stell, you are very wise. Lorraine Goodwin Lynch, you're watching. That's because everyone says little funny things, and it just says she's watching.
Everybody loved this story.
I'm so glad you enjoyed our show today. Well, apparently, Emmanuel Lewis Calhoun Jr. Is in quarantine, so he had to cancel. Tune in tomorrow when our guest will be Fred Kleinman. He is the, you know who he is?
No.
He is the world's most average height man. You've heard of the world's shortest man?
Yeah.
He's the world's most average height man.
Wow.
He's 5'8". So that'll be a great guest.
I can't wait.
Can't wait for that. Watch all our shows archived on The Dave Konig Show, streaming live on Facebook. That's the name of the page where I put all these shows. And please share this with your friends and like it and enjoy it. Until next time, God bless. This is Dave Konig with my lovely bride, Susan Konig. Oh, and Brixworth the dog is our special guest on the show. Can we get her on the show? Brixworth, tell everyone hello. Tell everyone what you do.
Yeah.
Oh, Brixworth, we love you, Brixworth. Yay. Okay, good night, everybody.